Now, what are you going to do with it?
I'm going to get rid of it. There's alligator turds behind a closed hamper
And
again.
what are you going to tell Marissa?
We tell her we found it dead like we did with a hamster.
No, Bill.
We'll give him a bury. Let's see.
I know my business. I rarely make mistakes, so I started thinking back, and I pulled the files to see if there was anything unusual. In the last 17 days, 3 derelicts from downtown have vanished.
Yeah, but the O'Shaughnessy brothers disappeared at Regent Park.
The Department of Water and Power and the sewage systems under the entire city.
You might enjoy this next splintering tale, whittled from the same worm wood. It's a splashy little ditty about some people who are left stranded without a paddle on a sea of blood. This bubbly bonbon is titled The Raft.
On these rotting tree trunks, something is alive. They can stand upright and produce spores, but they're not fungi or plants. When they're hungry, they spread across the forest, chasing food, but they're not animals. They're slime molds. A slime mold exists at the boundary between liquid and solid. Each one is like one big cell, and it moves in a very strange way. See how it pulses? A little bit forward, a little bit back, spreading and searching for bacteria or fungi to eat.
All the Russians above.
I'm so sorry, Rich. Let's go, Mike. We got things to do. Mike didn't need to ask me anymore. I enlisted for the duration. He told me it might take us years to find the tall man. And if we did, we'd probably die. Yeah, maybe. But not without a fight.
One day is fine and next is black.
It's not coming, is he?
So if you want me,
don't you even like baseball?
No, but...
Whip it into shape. Shape it up. Get straight. Go forward. Move ahead. Try to detect
it. Speak of the devil.
You will find it. You will find the crustaceans.
There's an Antarctic octopod that can survive very, very cold temperatures, well below freezing. And scientists are positing that the reason this is because of a blue dye in its blood, hemocyanin. Now, why does this work?
They are literally putting hemocyanin, which is blue blood from blue blood-based creatures, copper-based blood, into our immunovaccines. And it's only a matter of time before this goes into preventative vaccines. Now, we're all aware of the depiction of the bluish black blood in some of these films. Anytime you see like an evil person, a vampire, or something like that, they depict them with this bluish black blood. Well, there's a reason behind this. This all goes back to the copper-based blood, which looks almost black. You can see this inside of squid, octopus, and other mollusks, as well as centipedes, spiders, and things like that. They contain this bluish black blood. Now, what is this all about? Well, this goes all the way back to hemocyanin. Let me show you what this is. Hemocyanin is a copper-based blood. In other words, instead of having hemoglobin, which is iron-based, where the iron is pulling the oxygen out of the blood, the hemocyanin is copper-based, and it pulls the oxygen out of the blood as well. But it does it in a different fashion. Now, we investigated the fact that this hemocyanin molecule contains the Star of David. But here's where things get interesting. It is a known pathogen. It has been determined that hemocyanin actually causes an allergic reaction to people who eat shellfish. Now, what is this blue blood component? This is the keyhole limpet hemocyanin, KLH for short. Now, as you can see here, this is the structure of the keyhole limpet hemocyanin. It is a pentagram, and it's helical in shape, KLH for short, a large multi-subunit oxygen-carrying metalloprotein that is found in the hemolymph of the giant keyhole limpet, which is a mollusk. And this brings us all the way back to the blue blood of the Bible and the unclean creatures. Now, as I stated earlier in this video, the mollusks, as well as centipedes and spiders and other types of insects, have the blue blood. But there is one insect that does not. There are actually two, and that would be the grasshopper and the cockroach. They only have the blue blood when they're in the embryo, but as adults, oxygen is supplied solely by the tracheal system, and the blue blood is not present. The hemocyanin is not present. And this is probably why the grasshopper is allowed as a clean food in the Bible, and why all of the other things that I mentioned, the shellfish and the other crawling insects and spiders and scorpions and all those things, are not considered clean foods. Now, this is amazing, because this is the first time in the Bible that we've had proof that the unclean foods are linked to the blue bloods. God knew this back before science knew any of this. John the Baptist lived on locusts and honey, and now you know the truth.
What you do is you just drag your nets along the bottom. On a good day, you can catch over 100 pounds of shrimp. Everything goes all right. 2 men, shrimp in 10 hours, less what you spend on gas. You can...
Done, drill sergeant!
I handpicked every man in Blue Boy group. Sometimes I wonder about my judgment.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry. Boss.
Maples, do you know the Blue Unit Catechism?
Yes, boss. The BUC for all buckos.
Is Blue Unit part of regular Army?
No, boss.
We'll be fighting at close quarters with the most tenacious of all sea beasts. Stay clear of the tentacles. They'll seize anything within reach and hang on to the death.
Come on now, Lim, and tell us about that thing you killed out there at the swamp, will you?
Yeah, Lim, let's hear the rest of that.
Like I was saying, I put 5 slugs into that critter before it went under. Doggonest thing I ever seen. And regular arms on it like a man. Only it was sort of different looking. Had suckers on them. Like one of them octopuses things. Oh, it was plumb off looking.
What's stuff gonna do down there?
This is weird. Experimental chemicals, poison?
We got paid. We do a job. You got question?
Pasqualini.
Questions? I got no questions.
General, I've been meaning to ask you, have you heard anything about the Nuclear Strike Force Tactical Training Command meeting?
You mean Operation Nishvik?
That's right.
Qatar, I need you to do a physical assessment. You are showing rapid blood contamination. Are you cut?
I'm dizzy.
Qatar, self-eval.
Gentlemen, what we have developed is, in essence, a half-man, half-robot. A very sophisticated combination of human intelligence and superhuman powers, which we are confident will result in the ultimate destruction of the enemy.
Hundreds of giant parasitic insects, akin to those of the spider family, have invaded the research center's corridors as a result of the further mini black holes created by the Large Hadron Collider, LHC. As the outcome of these cosmological quirks, these awful creatures have a terrifying span of several meters.
It's not enough, you see, to be a spirit. There's no magic. In this artificial box that you call a world, we cannot touch except through bodies, you understand? We must operate through neurologic systems, brains that function.
It was in one of the most open and least frequented parts of the broad Pacific that the packet of which I was supercargo fell a victim to the German sea raider. The Great War was then at its very beginning, and the ocean forces of the Hun had not completely sunk to their later degradation, so that our vessel was made a legitimate prize, whilst we of her crew were treated with all of the fairness and consideration due us as naval prisoners. So liberal indeed was the discipline of our captors that 5 days after we were taken I managed to escape alone in a small boat with water and provisions for a good length of time. When I finally found myself adrift and free, I had but little idea of my surroundings. Never a competent navigator, I could only guess vaguely by the sun and stars that I was somewhat south of the equator. Of the longitude I knew nothing, and no island or coastline was in sight. The weather kept fair, and for uncounted days I drifted aimlessly beneath the scorching sun, waiting either for some passing ship or to be cast on the shores of some habitable land. But neither ship nor land appeared, and I began to despair in my solitude upon the heaving vastness of unbroken blue. The change happened whilst I slept. Its details I shall never know, for my slumber, though troubled and dream-infested, was continuous. When at last I awakened, it was to discover myself half sucked into a slimy expanse of hellish black mire, which extended about me in monotonous undulations as far as I could see, and in which my boat lay grounded some distance away. Though one might well imagine that my first sensation would be of wonder at so prodigious and unexpected a transformation of scenery, I was in reality more horrified than astonished, for there was in the air and in the rotting soil a sinister quality which chilled me to the very core. The region was putrid with the carcasses of decaying fish, and of other less describable things which I saw protruding from the nasty mud of the unending plain. Perhaps I should not hope to convey in mere words the unutterable hideousness that can dwell in absolute silence and barren immensity. There was nothing within hearing, and nothing in sight save a vast reach of black slime, yet the very completeness of the stillness and the homogeneity of the landscape oppressed me with a nauseating fear. I know not why my dreams were so wild that night, but ere the waning and fantastically gibbous moon had risen far above the eastern plain, I was awake in a cold perspiration, determined to sleep no more. Such visions as I had experienced were too much for me to endure again. Often I asked myself if it could not have all been a pure phantasm, a mere freak of fever, as I lay sun-stricken and raving in the open boat after my escape from the German man-of-war. This I ask myself, But ever does there come before me a hideously vivid vision in reply. I cannot think of the deep sea without shuddering at the nameless things that may at this very moment be crawling and floundering on its slimy bed, worshipping their ancient stone idols and carving their own detestable likenesses on submarine obelisks of water-soaked granite. I dream of a day when they may rise above the billows to drag down in their reeking talons the remnants of puny, war-exhausted mankind, of a day when the land shall sink, and the dark ocean floor shall ascend amidst universal pandemonium. The end is near. I hear a noise at the door, as of some immense slippery body lumbering against it. It shall not find me. God, that hand, the window, the window! The end is near. I hear a noise at the door, as of some immense slippery body lumbering against it. It shall not find me. God, that hand, the window, the window!